Hey everybody, it's Warboss Fitz, and I decided to pop in here with an extra video this week to give everybody an update on what's going on with the campaign. So first I want to apologize for the background noise. We got the Super Bowl out of the background, which, it's Sunday, everyone should have the Super Bowl on. So for the first time in a long time, I found myself ahead of schedule. So far ahead of schedule that I don't even know what to attempt to start printing next. I have the army set up for the next 3 weeks. They're already printed, they're ready to go. This is part of the Saurian army that will be coming up whenever they win the poll. The way I set up the armies is whenever an army is pulling ahead in the polls, I just start printing them then, because the more time I get, the better. And I think these were all done. The whole Saurian army was done in one day, and I think these came out pretty cool. Came out pretty good. So you guys will see them in the future, along with the mummified undead I'm doing for the members video that will be coming out soon. Yes, I lost my mind and I printed a mummified undead titan. Why? Because it was cool, but I discovered that some of the parts just wouldn't fit on my printer, so it is actually scaled down to 70%. But even then, this is definitely it's big enough as my furnace turns on. So the campaign map, as you can see here, it's currently wet. It is being, it's been textured. All the little villagers are in place. I'm going to go ahead and get my caulk gun out once it dries up, and I'm going to fill in the lake beds so that way we can have a nice recessed looking river system going. That will add a little bit to the realism that I'm going for. And here is some of the 15mm stuff that I've been working on. Now, I'm going to take the opportunity, since I have everything out here, to explain the detachment system that I'm going to be using in the campaign and how the casualty system is going to work. So what we're doing with the campaign is we are adding another layer of unit organization, because normally you just take units and you put those in your army. What we're doing is we're adding detachments, which are going to be groupings of units. Now, the way these detachments are going to work, they're all going to be led by a hero. The size of the detachment is based on the hero's quality. So, it's better if I give a visual example. So, we got a hero. We got a general on foot. I'm not sure what his quality is. Let's say he's quality 3+. So I made a chart of how many units can go into a detachment based off of the quality of the hero. We're going to say this guy here, who's going to be our general of this detachment, has a quality of 3. So he could take up to 5 units in his detachment. So what we'll do is we'll have the hero, and then we'll add in units. In this case, we're going to use spearmen. We're going to add a combined unit of spearmen. So here we have 3 combined units of spearmen. This would only count as 3 units, which he can easily lead. He can also, inside that detachment, you can have other heroes in the unit. In this case, we add another hero. This would be considered 4 units. But if this hero is attached to a unit, it goes back down to 3. And for every hero that you attach to a unit, it doesn't count towards the number of units. As long as this hero is attached to a unit, he's going to stay with that unit. And the hero himself will attach to a unit, does not count towards that number. Now, we've just used spearmen here in our example, but remember, he can have up to 5 units. So he's got 3 spearmen units, and he can take 2 units of marksmen to also be in the same detachment. Unit type doesn't matter, they can all be hooked to the same hero. Now, let's say you want to take like a magical detachment. You will take a mage or a wizard type character. He is going to be the start of your detachment. And depending on his quality number, in this case, you could just take 1 mage who's going to lead the detachment, 4 mages that are in the detachment. He counts as leading a 4-unit detachment. So now we have our detachments. Like here we have a cavalry detachment, an elite detachment, a detachment with archers, and our magic detachment. What is this going to do other than organize the units in the armies? Well, because we're going to be playing at a truly huge scale number-wise, what this is going to do is it is going to one, make it go faster, and two, preserve my sanity. Because in this case, with this unit, it would be 4 different activations, and I don't want to say the unit of elites moves up 4 different times. What it's going to do is we are going to activate an entire detachment at a time. So now another limitation we're going to have on these detachments is that on the battlefield, they are going to have to stay within 9 inches of their commanding hero. That way it gives the illusion of battlefield communications, of command and control of the fantasy age, because they don't have radios to go shout out to so-and-so platoon across the field. We might change that when we come to the Grimdark Future campaign, but for now, this is the way we're going to do it. That is also another reason why it's good to have, like, not the same units, but the same type of units, or at least the same speed of units, because it would do this guy very little good to be running a cavalry detachment that has a unit of archers attached to it. He can only go as fast as that unit of archers. So now let's talk about casualties, because this is going to be an ongoing sandbox campaign. The hero in your detachment will always come back as long as there is a detachment to come back to. The individual units are going to be what determines whether or not that detachment is still around, because whenever a unit runs off the board, you're going to roll dice. And it is a whole lot easier for lower quality troops to come back than higher quality troops. I do know that there's campaign rules for Age of Fantasy that One Page Rules came out with, but that's kind of in a linear type campaign where you guys are trying to use the same units over and over again throughout that campaign. Here, where this is a grand campaign, we're going to have a larger variety of stuff, a larger spread of the quality of troops. So on the Discord, I have all these rules written out, and I have a casualty chart there. So because a lower quality unit, you're going to be able to throw whatever body in there, and it should be able to get up to a certain speed. But let's say, let's take a spearman unit. One of these, you could just take a guy, and with relative little training and relatively low cost in equipment, he could be back on the field a lot faster than an elite unit who are wearing full plate armor and are carrying great weapons. So I got it written in there that if you're a quality 6 unit, like one of the townsfolk / Skaven slave type units, you're pretty much guaranteed to come back at least half strength every battle. But if you have a unit that has a quality of 2, that is a very special unit. That just demonstrates that high quality stuff is precious. Kind of like in a historical game, how you like let's say you're doing the battles of 1066, you don't want to lose your housecarls up in Stamford Bridge when you have to go fight in Hastings. When you get to Hastings, you're not going to have any housecarls. But if you lose the fjord at Stamford Bridge, by the time you get to Hastings, you're going to have more, because there's such a low quality unit that you could just pick a guy up off the street and throw him in there. Again, my historical gaming is leaking. So, reinforcements in the campaign. We're going to do it. Again, my historical wargaming is leaking all over this. So, there are 4 cities on the board. Those cities will provide 500 points of turn. That is going to be banked up and spent on new detachments, or is going to be able to be spent on reinforcing the current detachments that are in the field. There are 11 towns on the board. You get 1,000 points whenever you take a town one time. It doesn't matter how many times it changes hands. Most of the towns are being run by the Havoc stuff right now, so they all receive 1,000 points for every town they have on the field. When you take a town, you have the choice to split those 1,000 points. You can put them in the current army. You could use them to garrison. Oh god, my handwriting's atrocious, I'm sorry. Or you could put that into the pool of points that you get with the cities. Now, the towns are important because they are going to be your supply nodes, which we'll get to next. And another reinforcement point we're going to have is there's going to be some story elements, like say you find some things out there, you find some friends, some other people enter the war. There'll just be random detachments that show up. That's another cool thing too about the detachment rule, is that I'm going to be able to theme these detachments. A detachment coming to reinforce from like the mainland might show up and, oh look, this detachment is themed on the Roman Legion. Or you could have another random detachment show up. A bunch of dwarves showed up with their gyrocopter detachment. They showed up with the Air Force. So they're coming to help you. It's just another layer of storytelling on top of kind of a historical background to it. It's what I came up with. I think it's cool. All right, let's talk about supply. Every army marches on its stomach. What we're going to do is your supply points in the game. Sorry, I got to turn this because I'm so right-handed and crammed in here. Every supply point is going to be your cities and towns. As you capture them, they are going to be a little supply nub on the board. And they are going to give you 12 inches of supply. So on the campaign map, you are going to be in supply as long as you are within 12 inches of a city or a town that you control. If the enemy gets around you and sieges one of your cities and towns, it no longer counts as a supply point because they've got it surrounded. Nothing is coming in and out. And the best way to illustrate this is if we look at the map. Ooh, the lighting over here is terrible. But okay, so this is our map. The human empire will have a starting spot over here, and the chaos havoc stuff is going to be over here, and all these in between are our towns. There's going to be another city here and another city here. Shh, you don't know that yet. They're in the mountains. Don't tell nobody. So what the human empire is going to do, we're going to start here. These are all owned by the havoc guys. This is going to be where we start our campaign, and the fight will go out from here this direction. So you start here, we're going to take this town. Then we're going to hop from town to town because this is supposed to be a desert. It's going to be hot, and water is going to be a thing, along with food stuff out here in the desert. So it's going to be 12 inches from a city to be able to supply yourself. So let's say we're over in this area. Chaos still owns that and that, but the human empire has that. We're over here fighting. This gets besieged by somebody coming down here. That to there is more than 12 inches. So anyone over here fighting in this area will be out of supply. The same thing applies here. If, let's say, the humans are fighting at this fork in the river here, if this town gets besieged, anyone fighting here, if nothing else is owned, is now out of supply. And being out of supply is usually terrible for an army. So the way we're going to simulate that is everybody on the board is going to get -1 quality in that battle if they are out of supply. So now, movement on the campaign. Everybody's going to be able to move 4 inches. If all of the units in a particular detachment are fast, it can go 2 inches more. You can also choose to force march a detachment for an extra 4 inches of move, but if you get jumped on the turn that you force march, you lose your first turn, where the enemy is going to get their full first turn, and you're just going to have to get to sit there. That's going to be, again, simulating historically what would happen when someone's on a forced march and gets jumped on with the limited capacity of one-page rules. That's what we're going to have to do with it, where on turn 1, you just sit there. Also, some things that are going to affect movement is difficult terrain, -2 inches, and out of supply, -2 inches. And all this is cumulative. Now let's see, you got a detachment that's fast, and you put them on a forced march. That's going to be 10 inches. But it's going through difficult terrain, and they're also out of supply. That's only going to be a 6-inch move. It's a little crude, but what this is going to do is going to encourage field battles, because other campaigns I've ran in the past like this, it kind of turns into, total war simulator where the only fighting ever happens in settlements. With this low of a movement, most of your stuff is only going to be able to go 4 inches a turn, or lower if it's in difficult terrain. What that's going to do is going to encourage field battles instead of people bottling up inside of settlements waiting for you to come and attack them. So this is just a video to tell you the overview of the campaign and to give you guys an update on what's going on with it. It is coming soon-ish, and the soon-ish number is getting lower and lower. I need to paint more knights, or I need to make more knights now that I've painted a few. I realized I really like these knights. So I'm going to do the human elements first. and then work on the Havoc elements. I have all those printed, at least the initial detachments. I have all those printed and waiting. And then after that, I get to start making a bunch of cool stuff for this campaign. So we could start as early as the next 2 weeks. As far as my schedule is concerned with the printing and the painting, everything seems kind of open at the moment, so I'm going to dedicate to this. And we'll see how far I can get. So that's all I have for today. So until next time, have fun out there.